Hey everyone, Cole with Southern Leisure Spas and Patio here. Today I'm going to walk you through removing an airlock on your Bullfrog Spa. There are a couple different ways to remove an airlock from your Bullfrog Spa. The first one is to use the topside control to cycle the pumps between high and low speed to try to push the air bubble out of the pump. The second way is to remove one of the jet packs and use a standard toilet plunger to try to push the bubble through. And the third way is to remove the front door on the spa and to crack some of the plumbing open, or to open some of the plumbing to bleed the air out of the pump. So I'll go step by step. I'll show you all how to do this. We're going to start with the top side here. Okay, so the first thing to look for if you think your Bullfrog Spa might have an airlock is if the pump, you can hear it running but you don't see anything coming out of any of the jets. Waterfall, anything like that. If there's no water movement but you hear the pump humming in the cabinet, then it's time to try to get the airlock out. This most commonly happens after draining the spa and refilling it. Air gets trapped inside the pump and the pump has a hard time pushing that air bubble out. So the first method I like to use for removing an airlock is cycling the pump between high and low. So right now it's in the filter cycle, so pump 1's running on low. I'm going to turn pump 2 on low, and then about every 5 seconds I'm going to let them run on high, and then I'm going to let them run on low. About 5 seconds on high, 5 seconds on low. 5 seconds on high. And you can do this anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes to try to push that air bubble out. If you're unsuccessful after, say, 5 to 10 minutes of doing that, then I would suggest moving to the jetpack plunger method. That's kind of the second easiest and best proven method to remove an airlock, and I'll cover that right now. Alright, the second method for removing an airlock is to remove one of the jet packs from the spa and use a toilet plunger to try to push the air bubble through. So I'm going to do it with this one right here. You're going to take a standard toilet plunger and you're going to put it over the hole at the bottom of the seat where the jet pack would normally plug in. It's a 2-inch plumbing line. And you're going to take the plunger, you're going to push hard on it quickly for anywhere from 10 to 20 seconds while the pump's on high. I don't have the pump on right now because I don't want to make a mess in our showroom, but you want to have the help of the pump trying to push the water through as well while you're trying to manually prime it with the plunger. So turn your pump on high on whatever side is not primed up, whatever side has the airlock, and you're going to use that plunger pushing fast back and forth to jump start the system, basically prime the system manually. And once you get it primed, you're going to see the water, shoot out pretty aggressively out of the bottom of the seat there. You'll want to turn the pumps back off so that you can put your jet pack back in, and you're good to go. If this doesn't work, if this method doesn't work, kind of the last resort is to remove the door and open the plumbing to bleed the air out, and I'll show you that right now. Okay, so the final resort, last resort to removing airlock from your Bullfrog Spa, if the two previous things I showed you don't work, is to remove the door and to open some of the plumbing up a little bit to let the air out so that the pump can prime. This involves taking the door off, which if you're everyday consumer, you're not used to doing, so I'm going to show you how to do that right now. It's not too complicated. On the newer Bullfrog Spas, it's fairly easy. So you're going to pull this trim strip right here from the bottom, and it just kind of peels out real nice and easy like that. Same thing on the other side here. Trim strip comes off real nice and easy. And then the door, you're going to come in maybe about 10 inches, and there's a little spot to put your fingers right there. You're just going to pull straight out. Same thing on the other side, about 10 inches in, there's a little notch for your fingers, and you're just going to pull. Then you're going to need to remove the LED lights from the light on the back of the door. And if you have an audio system, you're going to want to unplug the cable for the audio box. And move this out of the way. Alright, so if this is the pump that was airlocked right here, what you're going to do to remove this airlock is, there's a couple different ways you can do it. Let me get the camera a little bit closer so you can see. Okay, so I know it's a little difficult to see right here, but if you were going to try to prime this pump right here, or remove the airlock from this pump, I typically try to go a couple different ways. The easiest way is to remove this plug right here at the bottom. This can be turned with your thumb and your index finger, or a pair of pliers you can use to break it free. You're going to turn that left or counterclockwise, just like a normal bolt, and it's going to unthread, and that's going to let some of the air out of the bottom. Another thing you can do, if that doesn't work, if you bleed the air out of there and there's still air trapped in the top, you can remove this line right here, just temporarily. And I like to do this while the pump's either off or on low speed. I wouldn't try to do this with the pump on high. You're going to lose too much water. It's going to make too much of a mess. So you would use pliers to push that clamp together right there, slide it further back, and then use your fingers, or you can use some pliers to pull this off. It's just a barb fitting right there. And that's going to push all the water and the air out of that top bleeder valve. If you do that and the pump still won't prime, if you take care of both of those, the kind of final alternative is to loosen the union right here. And you can get some oil wrench pliers, are really handy for this, or some big channel locks. And you're going to basically grip that union right there. Same thing, counterclockwise. You're going to open that up. You don't even have to take it all the way off. I would say maybe half a turn, 3/4 of a turn, and you're going to hear air coming out of that line. So when you break that seal between that O-ring and the wet end on the pump, you're going to hear that air running out. It's going to basically sound like hissing, like you have an air leak somewhere. And so you're going to open that up, and you're going to hear the air run out until you start to see water drip or run out around the fitting, and then you're going to want to tighten that back down. Most of the time, by pulling either this plug or this air line right here, this bleeder valve line right here, you should be able to get the air out. If not, crack that union open half a turn to a full turn, somewhere in there, and it'll break that seal and let the air out. And like I said, I do this on either low speed or with the pump off, and that should take care of it. I've never had a problem to the effect where I couldn't get it to bleed the air out of the pump by opening that union right there. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ask in the comments. But in most cases, you should be able to get it with one of these lines. Absolute worst case scenario, open that union up right there. All right, so that's a wrap. That is how to remove an airlock from your Bullfrog Spa with 3 different methods. If you run into problems, feel free to ask in the comments, but that should take care of you on getting your spa primed and getting the pumps running like they should.